That's a weeding stick. I use this tool all the time. It's pretty old, as you can see. It's a little bit bent. The tip of the end is all worn down. Uh, a couple of years ago, the handle broke, and I just took a dowel, I drilled a hole, stuck that in there, used the old um, ferrule around the collar to hold it together. It's time I make a new one. I want one a little bit longer too. I bought one. I bought this one a couple of years ago when this handle broke, and I tried using it. Uh, it just did not work as well. You see the end? That had a big forked end, and I actually squeezed these together more, thinking that would help. It doesn't really work. It doesn't have enough surface to like dig and pry the dirt out, and it gets clogged with dirt all the time. The handle didn't feel as good, and this bent even worse than this one did, and I bent it back, but it just didn't seem to have the strength. So I'm going to make my own. I've got a piece of this rod. This is drill rod. It's oil hardened drill rod. I have made other tools from this kind of rod material. It's a little bit heavier. This is 3/8 material. I measured this to be 5/16. That shouldn't matter. But I think I can, from this, make a tool that will work quite well. What I'm going to do is forge it. I'm going to hammer the end out and create a flat surface like that, and then I'll grind something of a V notch. And because I want a little longer, I can cut this to any length I want. And I think I'd like a couple more inches, like if it was that long, and I'll need a little more in the handle too. So if I cut it about that long, that'll probably work. I think I'll forge the end first. And then I'm going to make myself a nice handle. I got lots of nice wood in my shop. I'm going to turn a nice handle. Why not? Something fun to do. So here we go. I've set up shop out here on the patio. I didn't want to do this inside my workshop because I've got a lot of wood and stuff in there, and I'm going to be using my little propane torch there to heat that rod. So what I've got, I got iced tea. That's the main thing that's important here. That's a piece of railroad tie that I use as an anvil because I really don't have, a forging anvil. This is also a plate from a railroad track arrangement that sometimes I use to hammer on, but I think that railroad tie section is going to work. I've got my propane torch I'm going to use to heat the rod with. Hopefully there's enough fuel left in that bottle. I don't know, I probably got another bottle in the garage. That bottle is MAP gas, which actually gets a little hotter than regular propane. I've got a fire extinguisher just for safety, and that's why I've got this bucket of water and a rag there too. So I'm going to sit down here on this little stool and see what I can do. I don't think this will take too long. Let me show you what I got going here. It's actually taking longer to heat it than it is to pound it flat. I'm not quite going to red hot. I can see the color changing as I'm looking at it there in front of the torch. So yeah, I just let it get a little bit of color to it, and then I'm pounding it.
So we're making progress.
Okay. Let's see, stand over here. Does that show up? Hammered out a little bit extra, just so I have some material to work with the grinder to shape. But I think that'll do it. Okay, here's my flat hammered out bar. What I need to do now is I gotta notch it. Now this one's worn down quite a bit, so I need a deeper notch. But I've got enough material there, I believe. It looks like to me it's not a 45-degree angle. It's probably more about a 30-degree angle. I don't know that it really matters. But what we're going to do is we're going to put it in our vise over here. I'm using my wood vise, but I put a couple of blocks in here so that I don't mess up the jaws on my vise by clamping that round bar. Let me bring this in a little closer. Let's see. I don't want to set this camera where it's going to get damaged by all the sparks and stuff, because I'm going to grind that in there using this little rotary grinder. Okay, let's see. I'll move you around here maybe. I'll try to stand out of the way, see what I'm doing. Here we go. A little safety protection. Protect my whole face, because this tends to shoot sparks and things everywhere. All right, let's see. Maybe I'm a little high. Lower that down a touch more. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start this way. See what we can do. Okay, where's the camera? There we go. Yeah, talking to the mask, huh? I got something of a notch going on there. Okay, I'm going to clean that up a little bit with a little miniature grinding deal. Yeah. Then I'm going to get, maybe I should do that first on the big one, get a little more angle on those sides. When you stick this in the ground, you kind of stick it right in at the base of the weed, and that fork goes around the root of the weed to sort of pry and loosen the dirt around it. That's slick. I use this tool for carving and grinding, all kinds of little detail work. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's looking pretty good, huh? Yeah? You better say yes. That's looking great, Scott. On my bench grinder here. It's got two wheels here. This is a little coarser wheel. I think that's a 70 grit. This is a 120 grit wheel. I'm just going to take off some of this burr on this coarse wheel. There we go. Yeah. Now if I get this angle fixed a little bit here. Nice. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I think that dude's going to work pretty well. I guess I could test it before I put a handle on it, huh? Yeah, why don't we do that? Let's go find a weed. So it's actually kind of hard to find a weed right now because I've been out here the last couple of days doing some weeding and I'm pretty caught up. Oh, there's one right down there next to that rock. All right, let's see how my stick works here. Let's set that there. Put it on this side so you can see. So that goes in the ground and pulls right up. And look at that. Look at the roots on those guys. That's why you got to use a weeding stick. If you just pull at them, they break off on the top and then they grow back. Oh, here's one over here. Actually, here's some in the shade here. I don't know if that'll show up, but let's try to get these out. There we go. That one out. This stuff, I think this is called oxalis. These guys get these carrot-like roots. Yeah, I need a handle, I can tell. It's a little hard to hold just the bar. Look at the root on that guy. Wow, that's all root. And if you don't get it out, see this swollen part here? If you break it off up here, that thing just sprouts again and starts growing. So I'm going to cut this to 11 inches long. I'm going to put 3 inches into the handle. That should be good, strong support. I wanted a couple more inches than this one. So let's see. Yeah. That should work out just fine. I'm going to cut this with my grinder. This rod is really hard, and if you try to cut it with a hacksaw, this hacksaw is just going to bounce around on here. So we're going to do this with a grinder. I put a black mark there, which is my cut line. There we go. I think I'll just go to my bench grinder and smooth that out a little bit just so it's not dangerous or sharp and so it can slide into the handle easily. But that's it. One last little step. Now this is going to slide into my handle that I'm making for this, and it needs to keep from rotating in the handle. I mean, the handle is going to be a nice snug fit, but this thing will rotate maybe because it is a flat end when I am working with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some little notches around this barrel down here that's going to be in the handle with my little tiny grinding wheel. The idea in that is that I'm going to glue this into the handle using an epoxy, and the little notches will give the epoxy something to grab and act like a key. All right, so here we go. There's one. I think I'll put 3 on here maybe. That's probably about right. Three. All right. See, does that show up in the camera? Let me come around here so I can look and see. Yeah, a little bit. You can see them. So there's these little grooves, these little notches I created, and that's to key in with the glue that I put in when I insert this in the handle. I'm going to glue my tool into the handle with some fast setting epoxy. My handle turned from oak. If you want to know how to do that, watch the video on turning a tool handle. Okay. My ferrule goes on there. This epoxy, you just mix it 50-50. Resin to hardener. Oh, there we go. Needs to be about the right proportion. If it's a little one way or the other, that's not a big deal. And mix that together. This is just a scrap piece of cardboard. As you can see, I love Ritz crackers. This is, I think, a 5-minute set on this epoxy, so I've got to work relatively timely with it. That's it. And the thing is, it's a little warm out here today too, and that affects the epoxy. So you see I mixed it using an old nail, or actually it's a brand new nail. Wow, I'm wasting a nail. Because I want to put the glue down in here. Now, this is where I mentioned when I made the tool handle that I drilled my hole just slightly oversized, because what happens is this acts like a plunger when I insert this together, and I can't get it in there without a lot of pressure, and I can even damage the handle. You know, the pressure can actually split the handle if I hadn't done that. So let's see, we're going to put this on here too. So it's in the grooves that we cut to key into the handle. And I'm just simply going to slip this together. Hopefully it's going to go. See, it's still kind of tight, even though, yeah, it's pressing back. And that's because, and I hear air bubbles coming out, that's because of the plunger action. If I let go, is it springing out? Yeah, see, it's springing out on its own. That's the pressure in there, acting like a plunger. So we got to just hold this, let the air get out. Tricky mess. I don't want to get that on my handle here. Okay, at some point it'll hold. Okay, and I still got a few minutes. Okay, now it's staying there and it'll rotate a little bit. I want to get the alignment. I look at the grain on the handle, and this is vertical grain this way. So I want my blade to be across the vertical grain. That gives me the best strength. Because this is a little bit of a levering tool, if I'm levering flat grain, I can split the wood easier. Don't want that to happen. So, got that the right position. Let me take a little bit of this extra glue off of here. Now my nut, my ferrule, which is a plumbing nut, slides down over here, and I already threaded it onto the wood once, so the threads are kind of cut into the wood, and they were just cut with the nut itself. I'm going to tighten that on there, and that just adds some nice amount of strength right at the front of this tool. The other thing is the epoxy is soaking into that oak a bit. You know, oak is porous, and it's swelling the wood fibers in there. So that's going to be a good tight fit, even though, you know, like I said, 23, what was it? Let's say 23, 30 seconds, 23, 64, I forget. It's like a 64th of an inch larger than my 3/8 inch rod. All right, that's it. Let me make sure my alignment is proper. My grain is that way. Vertical grain, yeah, vertical grain is that way. Blade is across it. Good. There, I like it. Now all I have to do is put a little finish on my handle, and we'll be done. For finish, I'm going to use mineral oil. This is what they sell as butcher block oil. If you go to a hardware store, they sell it as butcher block oil. It's just mineral oil. You can buy mineral oil at the drugstore, really inexpensive. You know, a bottle like this, I know it's just a few dollars at the drugstore. At a hardware store, they're going to charge you $7, $8, maybe $10 for the same thing. So I'm using mineral oil. Let's see, I need a little rag here. The nice thing with mineral oil is it soaks into the wood, it repels moisture, it's a non-hardening finish. It doesn't leave a slippery, glossy surface, which you don't really want a glossy surface on a tool handle. I see that all the time. You know, you see handles sold at the hardware store. You can buy a hammer handle or shovel handle, and they're all shiny and glossy. Well, you know what? They lacquer those things up to sell them to you because people like shiny things. But you don't want a shiny tool handle. You don't want a slippery tool handle. It's nice if they are just oiled, mineral oil, linseed oil, that kind of thing makes perfectly good finish on a tool. There we go. Look at that. I like it. The other nice thing with mineral oil, you know, is it's harmless. You don't have to worry about it on your skin or anything. It makes it easy to work. All right, we'll let that soak in for a while. Maybe later on I'll put a little more on it. But we're done. We have a nice, new, sturdy weeding stick. Wow, I like it. Here's the old one. See, I made it a little bit longer. Should be good, huh? Feels great. It's a little heftier, but that's good. I gotta go find some weeds.